Chapter 2 of medical terminology. This is a general chapter that covers the topics about different organs, and once we get to each system, then we discuss each system in more details. So as usual, in your textbook, each chapter has the prefixes, word roots, and suffixes. So normally I don't teach this because this is just like reading from PowerPoints. I recommend you to study this in advance for each chapter, so a couple of times before coming to the lecture, and that makes your learning a lot better. So I start from here. So this is the organization of the body. So the body is made of cells, and you know that human is a multicellular organism. The study of the cell is called cytology. So cyto means cell, and logy means study of anything, any topic, and it is talking about the components of different parts of cells, and also the function of each component. For example, the function of nucleus, the function of different organelles, the structure of the plasma membrane, things like that. And then multiple cells together makes a tissue. So the study of the tissue is called histology. Histo means tissue. And you have different types of tissues, and each one has its own different function. Then you have, these are the types of tissues. So the muscles, okay, this is the muscles that the body is made of different type of muscles. So this is the smooth muscle that is under subconscious control, and this is the cardiac muscle, and this is the skeletal muscle that is under voluntary control. You have the epithelial tissue. So these are some examples of epithelial tissue in different parts of the body. In anatomy and physiology class, there's a detailed discussion of these tissues, but for this class you don't need that much information to know the details of this, so that's why I do not discuss it. A connective tissue, you can see some examples here, like there's 4 examples here, and the nervous tissue that you can see in the brain. So as I said before, there's 3 different types of muscle. The skeletal muscle is under your voluntary control, and the contraction of the muscle cause movements. The smooth muscle is for the organs, for example, intestine, stomach, urinary bladder, and also cardiac one is in the heart. So both smooth muscles and cardiac muscles are under involuntary control, so it's at subconscious level. Epithelium, it covers the outside of the body, so this is the skin, and also the inner lining of the body. For example, it covers the gastrointestinal system, it covers respiratory system, urinary, and genital system. It also covers inside of the arteries and veins. It has a lot of different functions. It is important for protection, and this is why, for example, the organisms cannot enter the body through the skin, because of the skin is there, so it protects the deeper layers. It is for absorption and secretion, so the good example is intestine or stomach, and salivary glands, for example, and also excrete waste. So it means that the things that you don't need is getting rid of the body. For example, feces and urine and sweat, those are the things that you don't need, and the body gets rid of those waste products. The connective tissue, they have different functions. One is for support, so different organs can attach to it, and also for protection. For example, the bones are protecting vital organs like brain and heart and lungs. It transports nutrients and oxygen, so blood is part of connective tissue, and also waste product is transported. It is part of the immune system, so different type of immune cells are connective tissue cells, and it's protecting the body against cancer and infection. And fat or adipose tissue is also a type of connective tissue, so it is metabolized when the body needs energy. The nervous tissue is made of neurons, and also there is some other supporting cells. They are located in the brain, spinal cord, and also peripheral nerves. It carries electrical activities, so it's important for processing sensory and motor information, as well as higher brain functions like memory and learning and judgment and planning, those things. So then multiple tissues, different types of tissue together, that makes an organ. So the organ then has a specific function. For example, heart is made of muscles, but also has some nerves and connective tissue and epithelial tissue, and that is for pumping blood. Or same thing in the lungs, is made of epithelial tissue, but also has connective tissue and nerves. So that is for exchange of gases, so they have a specific function. Then multiple organs together that make a system. Okay, so for example, in the mouth you have teeth, and that teeth breaks down the food, and you have saliva that makes the food easy to swallow, and then the esophagus carries the food to stomach. Stomach breaks down the food, and intestine digest it and also absorb it. But you also need the function of the liver and pancreas secretions, so those are also required for absorption. So multiple organs together that have a specific function, but the whole combination of those functions together have a specific purpose, and that is the system. So like cardiovascular system, nervous system, gastrointestinal system, urinary system, genital or reproductive system. So there's different ones. So let's talk about each system, and this is again is briefly, because starting next week from chapter 3 you have different systems, so we will discuss each one in much more details. So integumentary system is skin and also related structures, and it is a barrier, so it means that it prevents entry of infections and water to the body, and also prevents loss of blood from the body, and all loss of nutrients. It's important for temperature regulation, and also has fat, so under the skin fat is accumulated, so that's for source of energy. So the main organ of integumentary system is skin, but these are the accessory structures. Okay, hair, nails, sweat glands, and sebaceous glands. Sebaceous gland, they are producing oil, so it's lubricating the skin, making the skin moist. The musculoskeletal system is divided into a skeletal system and the muscle. So skeletal system is made of bones and cartilages, and they are important for body protection, for different vital organs. It makes blood. It has different minerals like calcium, and also muscles are attached to the bones, so they are important for the movements. So bones are the hard part, and the joints are the ones that are connecting two bones together. So not all joints are mobile, but the ones that you see in the limbs they are the mobile ones. So when we get to chapter 4, we will discuss this in more detail. Okay. Then you have the muscles, and we are talking here about the skeletal muscle, the ones that are under conscious control. So not the smooth muscle or the cardiac, only the skeletal muscle. And these are the ones that are attached to different bones, and they are important for movement. The cardiovascular system is made of different parts. So cardio means heart, and O is the vowel part of it, and it's made of arteries that contains oxygen and veins that contains deoxygenated blood, and a heart is a pump that is sending blood to different parts of the body, and also um, receiving blood from the veins. So the blood itself contains oxygen and nutrients and waste products, but the function of cardiovascular system is carrying these materials to different parts of the body. So the blood has two different parts. One is the solid part, and the other one is the fluid part. And if I go to the different parts of it, then I can also discuss the function of each part. So the plasma contains water, that's a big part, and also it contains electrolytes, and there is dissolved proteins, and there is fat and carbohydrates as a source of energy. Also they have other components that are like antibodies are there, so hormones and other things that are in the blood, in the plasma part of it, so the fluid part of it. Then you have the solid part. So the solid parts are made of these different components. The first one is called erythrocyte. So erythro means red, and this is the one that contains hemoglobin. Hemoglobin has iron, and that's why it looks reddish, and the oxygen attaches to the iron, and that's carrying oxygen. Leukocytes, leuco means white, and that's the part of the immune cells for defense against infections. And platelets, these are the smaller segments of cells that are important for clotting, so it prevents bleeding. Lymphatic system, it is important for protection, but also they call it lymphatic and immune system together, because part of the lymphatic system also has immune function, and it also carries lipid and extra fluid from the tissue. So that's another function of the lymphatic system. It has lymph nodes, so the lymph nodes are located in different parts of the body. So here in the groin area, under the armpits, so axillary area, in the neck, in the chest, in the abdomen, and in the pelvis. So they are connected to these lymphatic vessels. You see these are called lymphatic vessels, and they are carrying the fluid from the tissue, and these lymphatic nodes are filtering. So if there is any kind of infection or cancer, they have lymphocytes that fight and remove those harmful parts for the body. So those are any harmful particles, that are foreign particles that are coming, and they are removing them. So then there is a spleen there. This is a solid organ. This is in the abdomen, and that is destroying old red blood cells. Also has an immune function. And the thymus is here in the chest, and that is also during childhood it producing lymphocytes that are important part of the immune system. Then you have tonsils. Tonsils are the back of the mouth and the back of the nose, and contains lymphatic tissue. So in any particles from food or from air that enters the body, the tonsils are fighting against those foreign particles like germs and things like that. They're removing them. Respiratory system is important for exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. So if you start from here, this is the nose and inside is the nasal cavity, so oxygen enters here, warms up in that area, and if there is any kind of dust and foreign particles, they are removed because this is moist and contains air, and then what you breathe, then it enters the trachea. This is the trachea or windpipe, and then it branches, and these are becoming the bronchi. So these are the bronchial tubes or bronchi, becoming smaller, and most of these bronchi are located inside the lungs, and you have two lungs, and they are important for gas exchange. So you take oxygen with the air you breathe in, and removing carbon dioxide when you breathe out. The digestive or gastrointestinal system, so that is for ingestion, absorption, and digestion, and also removing or excretion of waste products. So starting with the oral cavity, that is when you eat, the teeth are breaking down the food, and also you have saliva that makes the swallowing easier. It also has some digestive component to it. Then you have the esophagus, that is mostly in the chest. It's like a tube that takes the food to the stomach. Stomach is in the abdomen, breaks down the food even further. Then is the small intestine, that the majority of the digestion and absorption take place. And you have the liver and the pancreas, that they have different secretions that are important for digestion. And then the rest of it goes to the large intestine or colon. This is the large intestine or colon, and then it goes all the way to here. This is the rectum and the anal area, and then any waste product is removed from the body. Urinary system is important for filtering blood, so any waste products, any toxins, extra water, electrolytes can be removed from blood. So you have two kidneys are highly vascularized, so the blood is filtered there, and then part of the filtration is reabsorbed. The other part that is not needed in the body, that goes to ureter. So ureters, these are long tubes, one on each side, and then it goes to the urinary bladder. Here is this urinary bladder, so urine is accumulated there. Once it's distended, then the signals are sent to the brain, and then you become aware of it, and then you urinate. So urination is happening through the urethra. So both in male and female, the genital and urinary system, part of it are combined, and so the urethra in male is located in the penis, and also the urethra in female is located anterior to vagina. So they are close, they are in close relationship with each other. And the female reproductive system is important for reproduction and also hormone formation. So starting here from ovaries, there is two of them, and these are the ovaries, and the ovaries are making ovum. So normally one ovum is released during the reproductive years of a female patient, and ovaries also produce estrogen and progesterone. Those are important for secondary sexual characteristics. Then the ovum goes to fallopian tube. This is the fallopian tube. This is the fallopian tube. This one, this is not, this is a ligament, okay? This is the fallopian tube, this thing. And then it goes to the uterus, and if there is any sexual activity took place, then if there is a sperm there, usually the sperm moves all the way here in the fallopian tube. So the conception takes place here. If there is a conception there, then it grows in the first few days, and then it comes and attaches to the uterus. Otherwise, if there is no intercourse took place, then nothing will happen, and then the person will have menstruation. So this is the uterus. So it's a very muscular organ, and then you have the vagina that is located behind the urinary bladder, and as I said before, behind the urethra. So this is the urethra, and it's like a long elastic tube. And finally you have the external genitalia. So this is the external genitalia, this area that is called vulva. So vulva or external genitalia. Also, breast is part of the female reproductive system because it has milk glands. So after pregnancy, it provides nutrients for the baby for the first few months of life. The male reproductive system is producing sperm for reproduction, but also is producing hormones. So we start here from the testes. So testes producing sperm. The sperm that are made there are not mature, so the sperm goes here. This is called epididymis, and it matures there. And also the testes producing testosterone that is important for secondary sexual characteristics. And from here, during ejaculation, the sperm is moving through vas deferens like this. It comes all the way here. You have some other glands here. This is called the seminal vesicle. This one. And this is the prostate gland here. And this is also the bulbourethral gland. So these three glands are there, combines with the sperm, and then ejaculates through the urethra. So urethra is located in the penis. Endocrine system, they have a lot of different metabolic activities, both for short term and long term. The master gland is located in the pituitary gland, is here, just below the brain, in the skull. You also have another one, a smaller one, is called pineal gland, that is for circadian rhythm. You have the thyroid gland in the neck, that is for metabolism. You also have the parathyroid glands. There's 4 of them, and that's located posterior in the thyroid gland. That is for calcium balance. This is the thymus, that is for immune system. So that is located in the chest. This is for pancreas, that is in the abdomen behind the stomach, and that is important for balance of glucose. These 2 are adrenal glands. They are located above the kidneys, and they are important for metabolism of different electrolytes and also glucose, and production of androgens. Androgens are like similar to testosterone, so androgen can convert to testosterone. One of the testosterones are androgens, if I say it that way, is a better way to say it. And you also have the gonads. So in male you have the testes. So testes are producing testosterone, and female you have the ovaries, this producing estrogen and progesterone. Then you have the nervous system. The nervous system, one is the central nervous system, which is made of brain and spinal cord, and then the peripheral nervous system, which is made of all these nerves and controlling the body. That is important for processing sensory and motor information, and also higher brain function. The eyes are important for vision. So it has 3 different layers, and the light goes all the way like this and processed here, and then it's sent back to the brain. And there's a lot of details to this. When the time comes, we will talk about it. Ear has 3 different parts. This is external ear, this is middle ear, and this is inner ear. The inner ear has two parts. One is for hearing. This is for hearing, and this area is for balance. So a few other terminology. One is anatomical position. This is really important. So anytime we discuss anything related to anatomy, all the positions and the organs should be in anatomical position. So it means the person is standing, looking forward. The both arms are side to side, and feet are again forward, pointing forward. The legs are parallel to each other, and the palm of the hands are faced forward or faced anteriorly. That's important. So it should not be twisted or sideways. This is the body planes. There is three of them. One is called sagittal or median, and this is splitting the body to the right and left. The frontal or coronal, and this is splitting the body to anterior and posterior. And the transverse or horizontal, which is splitting the body to superior and inferior. You also have cross section. Cross section is that if you have a part of the body is like this, so this is the longitudinal axis, and if you cut it like this, that is the cross section, so perpendicular to the long axis. And longitudinal section is parallel to the long axis, parallel to the long axis of a body part. Some regions, this is actually facial. It's in your textbook is written cephalic. Cephalic means toward head. So this area, if you specifically, this area is called facial, not cephalic. Cephalic is the whole head. Cervical is the neck. Thoracic is the chest. Brachial is the arm. And this is the antebrachial, A-N-T-E, antebrachial. This is the forearm. Abdomen, as we know, is abdomen, and the lower part of the abdomen is the pelvic area, and the pubic area is below that, so the genital area. Then this is called femoral area, okay, not crural. Crural means leg. Crural means leg, so that's a mistake in your textbook. The trunk is the chest, abdomen, and the pelvic area together is called trunk or torso. The back is called dorsum. This is the vertebral column, and this is the buttock area. This is called gluteal. You have two different cavities in the bodies. One is called the dorsal cavity, the other one is called the ventral cavity. The dorsal cavity has cranial cavity, that brain is located, and vertebral or a spinal cavity, that the spinal cord is located. Then you have the ventral cavity, that is made of the thoracic cavity here, abdominal, and pelvic. The thoracic cavity divides into the pleural cavity. Pleural cavity, they are inside the pleural cavity, lungs are located, and you have a mediastinum. And here you have the heart, and the great blood vessels are located in mediastinum. And diaphragm is a muscle that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal pelvic cavity. So some other terms here. Midline is in the middle, okay. If you are talking about the proximal and distal, you have to think of an attachment. So the arm or leg is attached to the torso. So when it's closer to the torso, it is called proximal. If it is further away, this is called distal. If something is closer to the midline, not the attachment, closer to the midline, this is called medial. If it is further away from the midline, this is called lateral. So this part is called anterior or ventral. That part, the posterior part, is called posterior or dorsal. Upper part is called superior, so cephalic is toward the head, and the lower part is called inferior. Caudal means toward the leg. toward the leg. Also, apex means tip. So this is a lung. So this is the tip. Tip is located in the lung superiorly, and in the heart is located inferiorly. And the base, this is the base. So the larger area, this is the base. Superficial, that means closer to the surface of the body, and deep means farther away. For example, skin is more superficial to the bone, and bone is deeper than the skin. Supine, this is the supine position. It means that the patient is lying in her back. The arms are to the side. The legs can be straight or the legs can be bent. Depends on the position. That does not really matter, but they should be parallel to each other. And prone is when the patient is on her stomach. So again, the arms are to the sides, the legs, the lower extremities are to the side, and there are different conditions. Most of the time when you examine a patient, the patient should be in supine, but sometimes if there is any conditions that is in the back, so the patient have to go in the prone position, and then you examine the patient that way. And that is it for this lecture.